Welcome into today's training. I'm going to be showing you how to get paid 4 times on a single deal. This is a strategy that you can implement. Kind of helps you start looking at deals a little bit differently, right? Especially on cash deals, how you can find good properties that you can turn into a mixture of making money now and also making money down the road. I really think you guys are going to like this strategy. I've done it quite a few times. My first trial into doing this strategy was about 2 years ago with a property in North Carolina. I messed it up royally, learned a lot. So guys, learn from my mistakes. Don't lose money, follow these steps, and I promise you, these deals are actually really cool. So I'm excited to share this with you. Next week, I'm gonna help you pick the best strategy for you so you don't wanna miss next week's masterclass, okay? So getting started, I want you guys to follow these steps. And if you follow these steps one at a time, I promise you, these deals are actually really cool as you put together. But with that being said, there is a process, just like everything. There is a process to everything. So let's go through this process of finding one of these deals, okay? So the first thing that we're looking for is this strategy specifically is great for cash deals. The one that I'm going to show you, I'll give you a wrinkle at the end of how you can apply this to seller finance deals too. But specifically, this strategy is great for cash deals, okay? So as everybody knows, what are we doing right now? We're reaching out to agents and we're looking for cash opportunities. So one of our biggest acquisition strategies of this year is building relationships with realtors and getting them to bring us cash deals, okay? So what I am looking for, I'm gonna write here type of deal. This is a cash deal. And then I'm gonna use this term here and I'm gonna call it grandma's house. Just another term for like a dated property. You know, you go over to your grandma's house, it looks like you're going to a time machine, right? Still got the wood paneling up, got some wallpaper, the carpets are different colors. It's crazy, right? The appliances are a little old, but it's grandma's house, right? It ain't bad, she keeps the place clean. That's what we're looking for. We're looking for properties that aren't in bad condition, just dated. It needs to be brought to life, it needs to be brought to 2024 standards. So we're looking for grandma's house. And specifically, when we go to buy these properties, we need to buy them just like anything else. You're structuring what would be a wholesale deal. So where this really comes into play is whenever you would basically get a contract or a deal where you're thinking about assigning, right? You're like, okay, well, I think I'm going to assign it and, you know, I'm going to make 10 grand or something on the assignment fee. So, okay, well, let's look at all the different ways that you could potentially put this deal together. So the type of deal we're looking for is a dated house, right? We're looking for grandma's house. We're looking for a cash deal. And the way we want to purchase these, you guys know, you want to structure the deal like a wholesale. Where do we typically need to buy a wholesale deal in this current market as far as price is concerned? So if ARV is 300, like what percentage of ARV? So first off, real estate is difficult, y'all. I'm not going to lie to you. Anyone who tries to tell you that real estate's easy, they're lying. We can make it look very simple, and real estate is in fact very simple, but it's not easy. This can be very difficult, right? You have to get properties deep. You got to get properties at 50 cents on the dollar, 50 to 60% of ARV, right? And that's where your skill set comes in. And that's where like people may try to outbid you, but guess what? They're probably gonna have to cancel their contract because it's too high, especially if they're trying to wholesale. This is where the skills really come in, is in the deal structuring side, right? Getting somebody to accept 50 to 60 cents on the dollar. In fact, what you guys can do is you can type in nationwide median price point Zillow and see what Zillow says. What's the nationwide, just the average home sale in the United States? And gives you a rough idea of kind of like where some of the better markets are. So like you see here, United States housing market average price point across the entire country is 360. So anywhere where the median price point is actually below this, but not too low, right? Below 360 is going to be a good market because it's got the best point of entry for someone who wants to buy a home, right? You got to think about when we buy these houses, they are for someone else. A family's going to be moving in there. First time home buyer, that's where primarily most of the buying activity happens. Not to say that there's not people buying $1 million properties all the time. They do, right? But primarily most of the market, people who are looking to purchase are around the median price point. That is where we ideally want to be. When we're trying to find a good deal, I'm getting off on what we're talking about here is getting paid 4 times on a deal. I first need to tell you guys what kind of deal we're looking for. All right. So that is the type of deal we're looking for. We're looking for something that is around median price point because the way that we structure these to get paid over time is like a $700,000 house in a market where the price point is like $500,000. That property's never going to rent out for $7,000 a month. You're not going to get a good return on that purchase technically for like cash flow. Maybe you'll get appreciation, but the cash flow is not there. So we're talking about places where we can still cash flow, and there's people buying and holding on rentals in these specific markets. So the great part about all this is you can find some of the more expensive markets, and there's always affordable places within that market. Like specifically, like use example Phoenix, right? Phoenix, you have Scottsdale, Paradise Valley. That's where all the like celebrities and sports stars and stuff, they live over there, right? And then even out in Gilbert and in Mesa and Chandler, the price point's pretty high. But if you go to South Phoenix or Maryville or some parts of Glendale, like you're going to find affordable housing, right? Those folks are paying somewhere in the neighborhood of, where the median price point in Scottsdale and Gilbert may be around $600,000. Over in that side of town, it's about $350,000, right, to $400,000. So there's still affordability in every market, right? So just want to at least mention that first. So you can pick some of your metro areas. Like I personally love Atlanta, and what I'm about to show you guys an example of is in College Park. College Park, the prices are lower than some of the more popular areas in Atlanta. That's just how it goes, okay? So we want to structure this deal to be about 50 to 60% of ARV. And these are the types of houses we're looking for, okay? And this is good rule of thumb for you guys as you are just doing wholesaling in general, right? When we're looking for good wholesale deals, like these are the places you should be. So we're talking about getting a cash deal that is dated, that just needs to be renovated, like a lipstick renovation. So what we're looking for is affordable markets. So here in College Park, if I zoom out of Atlanta, you'll see this is more of the southwest side. Here's the airport. College Park's right here. Now, look at the prices in College Park. You got nicer houses for $275, $350, etc., right? This one's been flipped at $250. You got a little $460 here. You got a dated house at $240, right? So like you can see kind of how this stuff works. If we look at this house at $240, looks a little dated from some of the photos. This is basically grandma's house, y'all. When you look at this property, you're like, hey, okay, it's not bad. The condition isn't bad, but it's pretty dated. All right. So we got 2,000 square feet, 240,000 is what they're looking for. A good sized lot. They even took a little picture of the cherub out here. How about that? But like you see, wallpaper, red carpet, old light fixtures. Yeah, the drapes are crazy. Like that wall is crazy. So, wallpaper. Yeah, this is, it's kind of like a time machine, right? That's what you're looking for. Different kinds of cabinet. Honestly, this is like what, 60s probably, 70s. This is crazy. Big old area. Got a wall phone in here. Wow. So would you guys say this is probably grandma's house? Would this kind of look like y'all's grandma's house? This is grandma's house. This is what we're looking for. Okay. So this type of deal, and I'm giving you this one. This one's on market, right? I'm not saying this is the deal that we would do, but if you look at this particular property, 3619 Victoria Drive in East Point, Georgia. Let me just copy this. All right. If I look at this and go back to the listing, it looks like, investor special, back on market, no fault of sellers, buyer wanted to use the property as Airbnb and City of East Point zoning will not allow that. It's been on market for 86 days, 331 saves. It's probably one of the more affordable homes. It looks like it was originally listed for $309 back in April, and they've dropped it, and they've dropped it, and they've dropped it, and they've continued to drop it. Let's see what this house is actually worth if you look at on the map. Quick comps, 3-3-2054. Let's see what we're looking at. So 3-3-2054 would like to see a renovated comp of any sort. This is dated. I wouldn't use this one. This one looks okay. 4-2-2500. Somebody came out here and cleaned this place up. Nothing crazy on the finishes, but they've been on market for 44 days with only 36 saves, and that one's at 325. Okay, let's zoom out just a little bit. I wouldn't use that one. Let's check some sold comps really quick. I'm doing this off the cuff here for you guys. All right, 4-3-2200. This one sold in January. 3-3. Okay, this one looks, let's check this one out. Oh, there's no photos, but it looks like they renovated it. So this one's a 3-3, similar bed bath. It's bigger, sold for $360. So we're probably somewhere in between, right? We're probably somewhere in between 330 to 360, somewhere around there. Let's check out this 294. That looks like it's like okay, this is a split level like we were. This one looks like it was renovated. See if they have the listing descriptions. Yeah, renovated split level. Honestly, this is probably our better comp. Even though we have one extra bathroom and we're a little bit bigger, our house is kind of like a split level like this. So I would probably venture to say ours is worth somewhere in the neighborhood of 320, right? 320, 330. They had it listed almost at retail when they originally put it on market. So it's good to know, right? So they originally offered 309. We think it's probably worth renovated 320, but it needs a good amount of work to get there. You guys agree with that? It needs probably like 60, 70 grand in work to get to the point where I think it would sell for around 320. Again, not that it's bad, it's just a dated house and it's a 2,000 square foot dated house. So we need to get it for a good price. So if we think ARV is 320 and we want to get it 50 cents on the dollar, 60 cents on the dollar, in this particular case, this property here that we were looking at together, I would need to buy this house, okay? If I was buying it 60 cents on the dollar and I say ARV is 320, okay, times 0.6. I need to offer somewhere in the neighborhood, and I'm probably gonna need to get this a little bit lower than that. 60 cents on the dollar is 192, okay? It needs more work than what I would be able to do for 192. So let's try to get it closer to 50 to 55 cents on the dollar. So in this example, let's just say my offer is like 175. So still quite a bit away, $65,000 less. Even if I was gonna wholesale this deal, I need to get it closer to 175, all right? So if that's the case, let's go back to the iPad and let's do some numbers. So we have our house, we have our dated house that we want to put an offer in on. And we know if we get it for roughly 170, 175, we may be able to sell this to an end buyer for like 185. If the ARV is 320, somewhere around there. So let's look at this. We're going to draw a little house. Wish it was 2 stories, but I would probably say anywhere from 160 to 175. The lower you get it, the bigger your assignment fee is going to be, right? But we agree this house ARV equals somewhere in the neighborhood of 320,000. Okay. We had a good renovated comp that was smaller at 294. We renovate ours a little bit bigger, make it look nice. We'll probably sell somewhere in the neighborhood of 320. Okay. So that means if we are going to wholesale this deal, it's going to be somewhere in the neighborhood of 160,000 to 175 because our end buyers would probably buy this property from us for, in this example, just quick numbers, they'd probably buy it from us for around 185, maybe 180. Okay. So maybe 175 is a pretty tight assignment, but you could still give it a shot if you wanted. It would be worth a shot at 175. So 160 to 175 is what we want to buy this property at. All right. So in this example, if we're going to wholesale this deal, our wholesale fee, all right, our wholesale fee is somewhere in the neighborhood of $10,000 if we get it at the top end of the range. In this example, this is where most people are out of the deal. Okay. You made your $10,000 and that's it. Well, it's not bad. $10,000 is pretty cool. It's not a bad gig to make 10 grand. But for the most part, this is where wholesalers make somewhat of a mistake because it's nice to be able to look at and say, okay, well, how could I potentially stay in this deal and make more money? Okay. We got this house at 50 cents on the dollar, 60 cents on the dollar. Somebody's about to go make some good money on this deal. Your fix and flipper is about to go make 30 grand, maybe 40 grand, somewhere around there, depending on what they're able to get done on the renovations without spending a ton of money. But they're set to make a good payday. Well, how can you continue to make a payday, especially if you don't want to use any of your own money? So you can still stay in this deal without using any of your money. So here is how this process works. So we found our dated house and we're buying it as is, right? We understand it's going to need some work, but it's livable the way it is. It's just old, right? So what I like to do, and this is a strategy that you guys can start implementing. Don't do too many of these at once, especially as you're just getting started. But here's how this works, right? So that wholesale fee that you're going to get paid from an end buyer, instead, you pay it to yourself. You purchase the property with hard money. I'm going to call it hard money loan. You can also call this a private money loan. Private money loans nowadays feel more like worse than hard money than anything. But if you're new to this industry, this is where like partnering up with somebody would make a ton of sense. Or it's not that hard to get hard money loans. They normally just vet the deal. They're like, oh, you have this property at 50 cents on the dollar. We feel pretty secured giving you a loan in that if we have to foreclose, you only owe 50% of what the house could be worth, right? So that's how hard money works. But you're going to purchase this property with hard money or private money, paying yourself an assignment fee. So how I normally do this is I have a company, right? I have a little business, and you guys pointed out I can't draw, but here's our business, right? And this is my wholesale company, okay? And this is an LLC, right, that I use to wholesale. And all of my deals come into this wholesale company. This is where we do all of our outreach, okay? And from there, when I decide it's something that I want to do this with or something I want to fix and flip, I then assign it to the entity, right, that I want to use. Maybe this is my fix and flip business. Maybe this is my long-term hold company, et cetera, et cetera. If I keep a deal, I always pay myself an assignment fee because that's how my team gets paid. That's how this company makes money. This is how I can continue to spend money on marketing, etc. So even if I keep the deal, I pay myself an assignment fee always. Okay. So in this example, you just paid yourself 10 grand and now you own the property. Okay. You bought it with hard money. You want to obviously kind of project out and say, okay, well, how long am I going to hold this property? Do I plan on doing any of the work? You don't have to do any of this work if you follow what I'm telling you guys to do here, okay? So you purchase the home with hard money and private money, okay? You then sell the home, right? You sell the home, all right, on owner finance. You say, well, Matt, how can I sell the property on owner finance if I have a hard money loan on this property that's at, whatever it's at? It's at 10, normally it's anywhere from 10 to 15% interest only. What you do is you go out and you find folks who want to buy the property as is. They're going to go in and put the sweat equity in, but you can still sell it close to retail as is to someone who can't get qualified for a mortgage. All right. So if the property is worth 320 and I know it needs to do about 60 grand in work to get it to be worth that amount, I could probably still sell that property for 300, 305 as is to someone on owner finance, right? I find basically, and who are these people? Again, this is normally a family or someone who has their own Etsy store. Honestly, guys, normally I end up selling these properties to people who work for themselves. I sold a property recently to somebody who has a granite countertop company. You let them work for their equity, but you sell it as is on owner finance to let them do the work. But they are going to be able to buy a home that otherwise they just couldn't get, right? So this is my self-employed family here, okay? That's who I'm going to be looking for. And honestly, guys, there are so many of these folks. And honestly, Facebook has been one of my go-tos to sell these types of properties. So I have to disclose to them that there's underlying debt that we're going to be paying on a monthly basis, right? So this is what's called a wraparound transaction. So we purchase the home with hard money, okay? So let me just show you guys how this works. So if I had a house, I'm just going to draw the house here in between the steps. So right now, our home that we purchased has a hard money loan, right? Here's this note, right? I'm going to draw it. And this is a hard money loan at, we paid ourselves a $10,000 assignment fee. Let's just, for the number's sake, let's just say we purchased it for $170 and assigned it to ourselves for $180. So we borrowed hard money loan. Let's just call it, we borrowed $185 to help cover closing costs and stuff, right? So we have a $185,000 interest only loan against a property, right? So right now, that's the loan that's on the property. So I'm going to go sell it as is to someone on owner finance. And I'm going to say, hey, look, you're going to buy it from me. Right? I'm going to go sell price is, let's just call it 305 and let them work for the equity. Exactly. Okay. I sell it for 305 as is. And what they're going to need to do is they're going to come in with a down payment, right? They're going to come in with a down payment. And normally what you're looking for is about 10%. Oftentimes they don't come in with 10%. And honestly, it doesn't really matter what they come in with in this example. And I'll show you guys why. But let's just say, for example, they came in with $20,000 as a down payment, right? And maybe you have an agent helping you sell the property on the back end, or maybe you do it yourself, whatever. But they're coming to the table with $20,000. That means you finance them. And I'm going to call this owner finance $285,000. Okay? So 20,000 minus 305, you're financing them $285,000. Now, how do you want to do this? Well, I am going to write 2 separate notes, and I'm going to share with you guys why. Well, normally this hard money loan up here has a short balloon, meaning it's going to have to get paid off rather soon. So I can't put somebody in the property and have to pay off this balloon down the road, or like within like 2 or 3 months. Like, the deal wouldn't make sense because they're only giving me $20,000. So what I'll do is, what you guys can already see what's happening here is, number one, you get paid again. Okay. This is your second payday. Okay. Second payday. And then what I will do is I am going to, for my $285,000, right? Number one, I need to pay off a hard money loan of $185, and the rest is going to be left in the deal. Okay. So my second payday of the $20,000, maybe someone has to go to closing costs. Maybe I have to pay a buyer's agent. But even if I walked away with 10 grand there, I've already gotten paid 10 grand up here on my assignment fee. Plus I just got another 10 grand there, if that ends up being the net number. So I'm already $20,000 in my pocket. Okay. And the fix and flipper was hoping that they would probably make 30 grand on the deal. Well, let me show you why this makes a lot of sense. So what I would do is, number one, I have to pay off that 185. So there are things out there, guys. There are people out there, right? I'm going to draw another stick figure. This person, put a little note in their hand. This person is what's called a note buyer. Okay. They're basically lenders. Okay. They are looking to place capital in first position on a property, just like a lender would. And typically this money is at about 10% interest. Now, they also want a discount on the money they bring to the table. So all of this to say, I need to pay off about 185. All right. So I'm going to whip out a calculator real quick and we're going to look at this together. I know I need to pay off 185. Okay. And I know my note buyer, for an unseasoned loan, meaning this person that I'm giving this loan to, that I'm wrapping my interest in this property, instead of me being a landlord, I'm going to be the lien lord, right? I own the debt on the property. I don't have to worry about maintenance and anything like that. This person owns the home. But for me giving these people a loan to buy my home, it's unseasoned, right? They haven't moved into the property yet. So a note buyer, typically, if they're buying unseasoned, they're going to want somewhere of 85% of note value, right? So they want like a 15% discount, if that makes sense. So here we are at 185. Okay. If I multiply, let me see how these numbers kind of add up here. So let me actually divide this by 0.85. I need them to give me $185,000 so I can pay off the hard money loan. But for them to get the discount they want, they're going to want to secure a lien against the property at $217,000 roughly. Let's just call it $218,000 just for easy math. Okay. So $218,000 is going to be my first position note, but they're bringing to the table $185,000. You guys following me here? They're going to have a note against the property, so they're willing to do this. They're like, man, I'll give you $185,000. Here's my terms. Number one, this note is going to be, you owe me $218,000. You owe me $218,000 and it's going to be at 10% interest, and I will give you the $185,000 you're looking for to pay off your hard money loan. So again, guys, the 218 comes from, I need to be able to give this note buyer a discount saying, hey, look, you are going to be in first position. You are going to be in first position. So guys, what I'm trying to do is, I can't keep my hard money loan on the property. I want a note buyer. Is basically, think of it as a refinance is what's happening. I'm refinancing with an individual lender, someone who is buying a note against my property, right? They're lending me money, but they're going to be in it for the long term. They're writing a 30-year term loan on the property. Does that make sense? Think of it as a refinance, just for easy thought here. The reason why I came up with $218,000 is because my person giving me the refinance is like, great, I will give you the $185,000 you seek to pay off your hard money loan. But in order for me to do that, I want a loan against the property at roughly around $218,000. It could be even $220,000, but this example we're using $218,000. It really comes down to their terms, okay? But I'm using this because this is how you model these deals out. So at about $218,000 is what they would want to have a loan debt against the property to be secured to give me the $185,000 in cash that I need to pay off the hard money. And their $218,000 is at 10% interest. The note buyer is giving you $185,000 and they are charging, roughly 15%. That's the kind of discount they want to give me that money. So $218,000 is secured against the property. What I like to use to model these deals, here's a great tool for you guys. If you've never heard of it, it's called noteunlimited.com, because this is how you build passive income while also getting active income. All right. So for example, and this is the reason why I say stay at the median price point. Here's the calculator. If someone was to go get a loan right now to buy a home in this area for $320,000 and they had to go pay the going rates of 7.5% interest, their principal and interest payment is $2,237. That's not taxes and insurance. You add taxes and insurance, their monthly payment is probably somewhere in the neighborhood of $2,600, $2,700 a month, maybe a little bit more. Okay. If I go back to East Point in this area, what do properties rent for? Probably like $1,900, $2,000. Let's see. Let's go to rent. Okay, you have a $5,000 rental. Let's see, $2,200 for this one. It's been on the market for a little while. There's not a lot near our property, but there you go. You have a bigger house that's a 4.2 for $2,700. You got a smaller house for $2,500. It's been on the market for a while. You have this dated house for $1,900, but probably somewhere in that neighborhood. So if you're looking to rent a house for your family and live in this area, you're probably prepared to pay, and you need a decent sized home. These are smaller. You're probably prepared to pay at least like $2,100 to $2,500, right? If you're going to be renting in this area, right? So I look at that just for affordability. I'm like, am I going to break affordability if I go write this note? And it's like, what is someone willing to pay to be owner financed, right? They know they're going to be paying a higher interest rate because they're not going through the bank. It's like doing a bank statement loan, right? So what are people willing to pay? So let's hop back over here. And let's say I sold this property and I financed him $285,000, right? That was our numbers that we looked at originally. Now I know that I need to give this note buyer, they want to give me $218,000 at 10% interest. Well, let's look at that first. $218,000, 10% interest. What's the PI there? $1,913. $1,913. Okay, so I'm going to write that down. Okay, 10%. $218,000 is $1,913. All right, so let's go back and let's write it down. All right, so in this example, their note is going to be $1,913.11 per month. That's what they said. Matt, we'll give you this loan, $218,000. Your payment, PI, principal and interest, this is not taxes and insurance, is $1,913.11. Okay? Everybody follow me so far. So we're still in the affordability range, even at 10% interest there, right? So that's my note buyer. But you might be asking, well, what happens to the rest of the purchase price? Matt, they gave you a loan. And by the way, their loan that they gave us, if we do this, $218,000 divided by what the house is worth, $320, they're going to be in first position at 68% of what the property is worth. How many people would love to be in first position on a home at 68% of what it's worth and have a 10% interest loan? There's a lot of people out there. A lot of banks would love to be in that position. Hey, it's only 68% loan to value and it's 10% interest, right? That is an ideal scenario for these people, okay? So now we go back to our calculator and say, all right, well, if that is the situation that we're working with, what happens to the rest of the money? Okay, so in this note buyer, the reason why I find these people first, okay, the reason why I do this step first is because I set the terms with this buyer that helps me go find my note buyer, right? I say, hey, look, this is the loan that I'm writing. They're going to be buying this house for $305,000. They have a $20,000 down payment. They went through an RMLO, right? So we underwrite these people through an RMLO, which basically says they can afford this property and it mitigates the risk for this note buyer who's in first position. So they know, what's the likelihood of them having to foreclose. Okay. It's not that difficult, guys. It's not that difficult. I promise you. This is a very simple step-by-step. One, we found us our house that we were going to wholesale anyways. We made our 10 grand by wholesaling it to ourselves. Now we own it. Okay. We want to do this quickly because every month we got to pay that hard money payment. Okay. We're not going to do anything to the house. We're going to sell it as is on owner finance. Say, hey, look, I'm going to give you a little discount. This property is probably worth $320, maybe $330. If it depends on how much work you put into it. I'll sell it to you for $305. You do all the renovations yourself. It's got great bones. All I need from you is a $20,000 down payment and I'll finance you the rest. Okay. But this is what your monthly payment's going to be. And how I figure out their monthly payment is I modeled the note buyer saying, hey, if these are the terms, the note buyer would definitely be willing to put $218,000 in first position at 10% interest. Their monthly payment is $1,913. We looked at area rents and said families are going to probably pay somewhere in the neighborhood of $2,100 to $2,500 if they were going to rent. And if they're going to buy, would someone be willing to pay $2,800, $2,900 a month if they own a home? For sure, right? So what we have here is we still have some leftover money, okay? And this is where you get paid 2 more times, all right? You have the remaining equity, okay? So remaining equity. So the one way that you ensure that you lose out on this money is you write 1 note instead of 2, and you have a note buyer come in and take over all of that. So they benefit from it. Instead, you only sell what you have to a note buyer, okay? You only sell what you have to a note buyer. So then that way they can cash out the hard money and there's no risk involved after this, okay? And everything else should go to you. So let's look at this. Remaining equity is $285,000 minus $218,000. What does that end up being, y'all? Let's go back to our calculator. 285 minus 218 is $67,000 in equity. $67,000 in equity is what you personally can write a note for. Money that was originated in the deal. Like this $67,000 didn't exist until you gave this family a loan up here with money that wasn't even yours. Hard money that you used to purchase it. You have $67,000 that someone now owes you and pays you monthly on by doing the deal this way. So instead of just taking your $10K on a wholesale fee, someone now owes you money. You guys see what I'm saying here? All right. So by structuring it this way, you sold what you needed to cash out the hard money loan. This first position payment is $1,913. You have $67,000 that somebody owes you. Okay. And not only that, you got paid on the down payment too. It's crazy, right? This would be your loan. So let's see what you can charge for your loan. So for your note, again, because we're combining 2 notes together, one that's going to be the first position, you are going to be in second position. So let's go back over to our calculator and say $67,000 at 10% interest. How much is that? $587. $587. I mean, maybe you can even charge a little bit more if you wanted. If you wanted to go to 11%, it would still probably work. Let's just say in this example, your loan of $67,000 sits in second position, right? So second note here sits in second position. Here it is. Here's our little note. And this looks like this. It's $67,000. All right. Here's a lien on the property, which is your remaining equity. And it is at 11% interest. All right. And the monthly payment to you that you make as true cash flow on this deal is about $638.06. So instead of you having to rent the property out, deal with property management, etc., you don't have to do any of the maintenance. This person owns the property and they pay you monthly, $638.06. So this is how, and I'm not even done yet, guys. You're going to get paid one more time. Let me show you how. This is how, in this example, your remaining equity in your $67,000 loan that was originated in the deal, none of your own money. This person now owes you this much money. You get paid monthly on. So this is you. You get paid here. You get paid here. And you get paid a wholesale fee here. All right. So this person is paying a combined payment of $1,913. So they're paying $1,913.11 plus $638.06 combined. $1,913.11. So their total monthly PI is $2,551.17 plus taxes and insurance. That means their total payment every month is about $2,850, maybe $2,900 to own this home, right? That's basically, it's like, hey, if I'm gonna live, I'm gonna be able to own a home. So guess what? This family that we're using this example, they get to benefit from all appreciation of the property. This property, if it was worth $360 down the road, it's theirs, right? If it's worth $380 down the road, it's theirs. They get all the upside. They actually get to own. Okay, they don't have to rent anymore. This is how you can provide housing to people who can't get qualified for mortgages. Okay, especially if they're self-employed, but they can prove they make money. So they get all the upside, right? But you're selling it this way to not just secure your money today, right? And then guess what? In about a month or so, you get another payment from the down payment. And then guess what? Every single month, you're getting paid $638, which in my opinion is way better than managing the rental. You don't have a war chest, right? You don't have to worry about fixing the AC or if it floods or the roof you have to get a new roof. It's not on you. It's on them. They carry their own insurance. All right. So that's 3 times you get paid on this deal, $638. Now, if they're refinanced down in the future, that's on them. We normally model these deals out and say they probably will keep this loan for about 5 to 7 years before they try to sell the house or refinance. Okay. So let's look at your next payday. Okay. Your next payday is going to be in about 5 to 7 years. So let's check that out. The last payday, the 4th payday, is a model between 5 to 7 years down the road. This family is either going to refi or sell. I mean, if they take you to 30 years, hey, whatever, right? If they never refinance and they keep paying 11%, 10% interest, like cool, right? Let it ride. 5 to 7 years down the road, refinance or sell is probably what they're going to do. Okay. So you're due a payday, and let me show you how this works. So over here are $67,000 at 11% interest. They paid you, let me pull this up. They paid you $638.06 for, let's just use 5 years as the example. That's 60 payments. So you made $38,283, right? And I'm just going to put this underneath that. So your monthly cash flow over 5 years, you brought home $38,283.60. Okay, guys, and what I'm showing you is this is the game the banks play. This is how you can get in on it without having to use any of your own money and money that's originated in real estate. It's crazy, okay? So over the 5 years, just modeling 60 payments, that's it. If it goes 7 or 10, you get even more, right? But even at 60 payments, you got $38,283 in cash flow. That's real cash flow. And this is stuff that you can do right now. But if we hop over, look what happens. Look at this note at 11% interest. Guess what? The first 5 years of the note, you guys think they're paying mostly towards interest, or you think they're paying mostly towards principal, right? Mostly towards interest or mostly towards principal? What do you guys think over the first 5 years of this note? If you look at an amortization schedule, you can see it right here. Look, remaining balance and how much they're paying in interest versus how much hits the principal. It doesn't actually get equal until almost 25 years into this note, right? Was that 24 years? Doesn't actually even break even. So for the first 5 years, so especially here in this model, for the first 5 years, check this out. Look how much goes to interest. Look how much goes to principal. So if they go to refinance the home and sell it, and they should have equity by that point, the property probably appreciated. Look how much they still owe you. $65,100. You still are owed. So down the road, we got our monthly cash flow here. All right. Now down the road, our future payout of our note, when they go to refinance or sell the home, they still owe us, and this is money you left in the deal, they still owe us $65,100. That would be a check to you saying, hey, we're paying off our lender now. Thank you so much for being our lender on the home, but we're selling it now. And whenever they go to sell it, piece goes to most of it goes to the first position note that they still owe the money to. They get paid off. And then the rest of it, of course, goes to you. You get paid off $65,000. So how much money do you actually make on this deal, even within 5 years? Again, up here, cash now, you got paid. This is your first time you got paid, $10,000. Your second payday right here was $20,000 minus fees, closing costs and stuff. Let's just call it you actually got $10,000 of it. So your total cash now, okay, so let's look at this. Your total cash now that you got paid twice on is roughly 20 grand, money in your pocket, okay? And then you have your cash flow over 60 payments, which in this example ends up being $38,283.60. And then you get cash later, okay? And the cash later in this example is $65,100. So if we add all of this up on this particular deal, we have $65,100 we have 38,283, just for easy math, I'm not even gonna round it, and then $20,000. So $123,383 that you made and you added to your net worth in 5 years. $123,000 in 5 years. That means this one deal brought you basically $25,000 a year. Imagine if you just did 4 of these a year. That's $100,000 a year that you're adding to your net worth, right? So guys, my $20,000 included my assignment fee because I subtracted out like, hey, if I had to pay a buyer's agent some money, I had to pay towards closing costs. This down payment, 20 grand, all of it doesn't go to me, right? I had to pay some costs to sell the property. Just saying it was roughly about 10 grand kind of went to me. So I added the 10 here and added the 10 above, right? So that is how you guys can take a cash deal that you would otherwise wholesale and be able to stick into the deal and make over 6 figures on one deal. How crazy is that? 1 or 2 of these every 6 months is like, it's a no-brainer. I mean, if you just did a couple of these a year, you're adding so much to your net worth is crazy. Your cash flow alone. Like, look, buy real estate for sure for tax purposes and stuff, but if you're looking for straight cash flow, why does the banks not own anything? Why does Wells Fargo, Chase, Bank of America, why do they not own anything? They only own the debt because of this reason here, right? You guys see how this works. So this is not flipping houses. This is flipping money because it's the power of compound interest, and all of this interest that you're getting paid monthly on is created inside of the deal. And you're providing home ownership to someone who otherwise can't get a loan. And this deal typically takes about 2 or 3 months to put together. From the time you buy it, to find the wrap buyer, to close it, etc., takes about that long. Yeah, super powerful. I do recommend if you guys are doing this for the first time, get a partner who does these types of deals. And they can help you make sure you don't make the same mistakes. I got excited about this. I did my first deal like this, and I didn't bank on having to hold the property for 3 months. And I'd never sold anything to a note buyer or a wrap buyer before. So I end up having to spend, I think I lost like 11 grand on the whole acquisition, but long term, I'm going to make like 100 grand. So I was like, okay, I'm fine with leaving that kind of money in the deal. But for you guys doing your first ones, definitely partner up with somebody to make sure you're doing it the right way, for sure. That is how you get paid 4 times on a deal. Did you learn something new? Was this valuable? Maybe you're going to add this to your tool belt, or maybe start looking at deals a little differently now. You can definitely go back and watch this replay from today. It'll be in Masterclass Pass by Monday. You can go back and check this out. So however I can help you in your real estate business, or maybe you just need some direction, please use this link. I'm always happy to help. You guys are amazing. Hopefully this was a valuable training. If you need anything from me, you know where to find me. We'd love to talk to you guys. You can use that link to do so. I appreciate you. Thanks you guys for being here today. Hope you have a wonderful Saturday. Thanks for hanging out with me for the time that we've had here together. And if there's anything I do for you in the meantime, you know where to find me. Appreciate you all. We'll see you next time, okay?